5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hello, friends. Gil here. I want to talk to you about our friends who help make this podcast possible. First, it's going to be our friends over at Yellow Jacket. This podcast is brought to you by Yellow Jacket. They have several new products out. One I want to talk to you about is their new convenient wireless scale. This has a 200-pound capacity, large platform, and wireless Bluetooth communication via the YJack View app. The Yellow Jacket wireless refrigerant scale code, it is scale 68864, makes refrigerant charge measurements fast and easy. Just connect with any smart device and you are ready to go. With a 0.5% accuracy and a 0.2 ounce resolution, service technicians can count on precision measurements every time. Save the charging measurements to your smart device, and you have a permanent record for that installation or service call. So you have the scale. Everybody who got the P51-870 or the P51-860 when they came out, if you do not already know, they now have their wireless probes. You can get the YJack temperature and humidity kit, which is going to give you your temperature probes, your clamps. Well, let's see here. We have the Yellow Jacket YJack series provides the total HVACR diagnostic solution. The YJack temperature clamp kit includes 2 YJack temperature clamps, 1 YJack path, which I think that's the repeater. The YJack temperature clamps provide wireless Bluetooth measurements for surface temperature of pipes up to 1.25 diameter with a flexible cable connection for easy access for small and difficult to reach areas. I won't go through all that, but they are compatible with the P51-870. You can also just get the temperature clamps if you don't want all the humidity stuff. So guys, go check those out. We have, I'm sorry, I was trying to find and give you guys the part numbers. I will get them and try to cut that into the bottom. But definitely, guys, go check those out. Or you can buy each one of these things individually. You can get just the YJack temperature strap. You can get the YJack Dew psychrometer. Or you can get the YJack temperature clamp. I'm sorry, the first one was the temperature strap, the one that straps around the pipe. Or you can get the actual wireless temperature clamp. Sorry that was long-winded. So guys, remember our friends over at Yellow Jacket, 70 years of expertise built into every tool. Guys, we are also brought to you by Service Titan. If you are trying to grow your business, stop playing in the minor leagues, all right? You want your big break? You know what? Well, me and Kelley are scouts, and we're giving you your big break, all right? Get your ass out of the minor leagues, step into the big leagues, and start using Service Titan. All right, we have a landing page that is almost finished, some links that we can give you to go over there. If you want to get set up a demo, give us a call. We'll get you hooked up with the right people so you get your discounts until we get that link set up, all right? So stop playing in the minor leagues. Get your company up, growing, increasing profits using the best CRM on the market, point blank period, Service Titan. I want to say thank you to all of our sponsors for making this podcast possible, and on to the mother freaking show.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless the USA, and thank you to all of our global listeners.
If you're trying to take your HVAC game to the next level, then buckle your seatbelt, crank up the volume, and try not to be offended, because you're listening to the HVAC Uncensored podcast with Gil Cavey and Kelley McKay. Now, here's Gil and Kelley.
Yo, 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 what is up, everybody? Welcome to the HVAC Uncensored podcast, episode 85. I'm your host, Gil Cavey, sitting alongside my buddy old pal, Mr. Kelley McKay. What is up, my brother?
What's going on, man? It's summertime. It's time to go make money.
Exactly, man. It's time to shit it get off the pot. This is the time of year that we all wait for, especially with, I know you've been the same, brother, with kind of a shitty winter, then the COVID bullshit. I mean, now's the time to go get it. No bullshitting around, no pussyfooting. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. And it's been pretty much balls to the wall since the first hot weekend we had 2 weekends ago. So it's been busy, man. It's been crazy. I know that you've been working a lot of hours, and we haven't even hardly talked over the past few weeks because I know you're running and gunning like crazy. I'm in the office, but I'm still answering some technical questions. I'm still, just making sure that the processors are being followed, and the phones have been exploding in the office. I'm sure you guys' phones have been exploding too.
It is. It's nuts.
Yeah.
And a lot of people ask me like, Gil, why are you in the field? And, so I'll break that story down. If you guys did not see mine and Kelley's live stream last night, we talked about it a little bit, but I've been in the field between running sales calls and just running normal calls just because it is crazy in Maryland last night. And it's hard to explain. A couple of the guys in the live stream last night, like our buddy Zeke, who was also in Maryland, it's just weird. Like, people don't think of Maryland as like, we're not really like a southern state like Florida, Louisiana, Mississippi, Texas, places like that. But it is very humid here. And we're like, we've only breaking 90 like a couple of days, but it is so busy here. It's crazy. We are understaffed compared to last summer. Been interviewing like crazy, cannot find anybody worth a damn. That's a whole nother story. But yeah, so we're just trying to capture every call that we can. Even the owner of my company, my boss, has went out and ran some calls because it's kind of all hands on deck. We know that this could kind of drop off at any moment, even though it's the beginning of the summer. I doubt it.
Right.
But after having that shitty winter and the stuff with COVID, we're trying to capture everything. I mean, we have pretty much an install every day, 1 to 2, sometimes 3 install teams rocking and rolling. Everybody's running service calls and some. On the weekends, it's the primary on-call guy and the secondary guy are both getting hours. Yeah, it's just nuts. So I don't want to be out there. It's killing me.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. Is just the simple. We've had a couple of discussions over the last year or so. This has came up a couple of times where you're physically, like, you'll get to a point physically. I know there's a lot of young guys that are listening to this and gals. And then there's a little bit, we have some older demographic as well who listens to us. And I know the older guys can totally relate, but we just want to talk just right now, talk to the younger guys, because while you're young and you can work those extreme hours in the extreme temperatures, just remember that there's going to come a time where you just can't physically do it anymore. So now is the time to invest in your education, to learn, increase your communication skills. If you're doing residential, increase, and your technical knowledge, continue to increase both. But there's going to be a time where you're going to start leaning in more towards your communication skills and your ability to lead and manage. And I think that, it's just imperative to start working on those things, because with this industry, like, how many old technicians I know that have had 2 new knees? Like, a handful of them at least. I don't know that many old technicians, because to be honest with you, a lot of them don't make it to be a ripe old age.
Well, no, and you have to have a plan. But real fast about what you're saying, you hear me talk about my lead installer, Dave.
Yeah.
Dave's almost 60 years old. And that guy, I mean, and his body feels it. And he outworks some of these young guys. And he works because of his choice. To be honest, I don't think he necessarily has to work. He made some dumb decisions at his younger years, but I still think he's set up where he doesn't have to work. He just chooses to. But I know sometimes he's gotta take a break, and me and Kelley both. I mean, we take good care of ourselves. I know Kelley works out. I work out. It's not like I'm far from old. I mean, I'm only 38, but I am, and I keep myself in shape. But I'm not gonna lie, man. Like this kind of kicked my ass, dude. And it was surprising because when I used to do this on a regular basis, when I was just a regular technician and stuff like that, I was all about, shitting and getting. Give me the hours, rock and roll. I want every opportunity to be in front of customers as much as possible. I'll take that extra call because that call could have been a $20,000 system or a $2,000 repair or whatever. It was just opportunities. The sheer numbers is what I was playing.
And I'm only 5 years older than you, and it's only been about 2 years, 2 to 2.5 years that I've been out of the field. So I was there. Like I was working till 10 o'clock at night and, running and gunning, at least during the summer. Probably about the time I was your age, 38, 39 is when the business started doing a little better and doing a little better. So I got to kind of jump back and forth, but during the summer, it's all hands on deck and we just had to go get it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's rough, man.
Yeah. And I definitely feel it a little bit more. And I also understand that even for me, at least for me, there was, I don't know, you can speak for yourself, that even before there was always kind of like a body adjustment period at the beginning of summer.
Always.
Where like your body had to get back in the groove of working all that hours. And after that, you started to work out the kinks, kind of, lube the joints and stuff. And then it was a little bit better. I mean, you still felt it, don't get me wrong. But after those first couple of weeks, it was kind of like the norm. I didn't feel like this though. You know what I mean?
Right.
I definitely didn't feel like this. So I guess I've been pencil pushing a little too much, but and I'm not even in the office enough. So that's what scares me. So it's like, Jesus Christ. But,
I guess it's just what the point that we're trying to get across here is that there's just a definite need for, and I know because we've had some feedback in the past that some of you guys listen to us. I mean, you actually take some advice and say, after hearing what you said, it made me think a little bit. So that's what this first portion of this conversation is about, is just to get you to thinking about the future. It's not just about tomorrow. It's not about having to take call this weekend. It's not about next week. I'm talking like 3 years from now. Do you want to still be doing the exact same thing you're doing right now, or do you want to be doing something different?
Yeah, you got to have an escape plan as far as, and I want to talk about something else, and I'll get to that before I forget. But yeah, like Kelley said, you have to have a plan. That it's great that we're all technicians, but eventually, which one of us wants to be 50 years old still climbing in attics? You don't. There has to be a transition to another place. Whether it is in sales or management or whatever that role is. And if your company, if you don't see yourself at the company you're at being able to do that, that's something you need to think about if there's nowhere for you to go.
Well, also, don't just say that could be an easy out too, where you just, automatically assume that there's no place for you.
Oh yeah,
so that could be an excuse to not actually apply yourself and start learning and getting better and increasing your skills.
Yeah, talk to your boss or your owner. Be like, hey, I'm just, and a lot of times they'll be like, hey, I'll make a position for you. So
Yep.
don't ever assume. So yeah, don't take it that way. Definitely ask. But yeah, you got to plan for that kind of stuff. And, maybe it might take you a little bit and your manager says, you know what, hey, maybe I'll start showing you some of the behind the scenes stuff. That's what happened with me. I got it started, and I always say this on previous podcasts. I used to be that technician that was like, man, we charge too much. Why are we charging this much for this? And then I started learning the behind the things on what happened in the office, on how to price. And my owner over the last 10, 12 years has taught me how to run an HVAC business, which I still have a lot to learn, but I've also learned a lot, and things just start to make sense. Like, oh, that's why we do that. Oh, that's why we do this. So definitely have some kind of plan in place. And the other thing that I always say about is we always talk about tools and classes and stuff like that. But when it comes to tools, guys, the biggest tool that we have is our bodies. You have to take care of your body, man. And let's be honest, you guys out there that are a little overweight, a little chubby, and I'm not bringing you down, but you guys know that your knees hurt. Like Kelley, your knees hurt, your back hurts. You can't keep up with those young boys. You have to take care of yourself. This time of year, you have to stay hydrated. You have to eat good. You're only going to get out of your body what you put into it. You put in fast food and shit and candy and stuff, ice cream. Well, guess what? You're going to get shit out of it. The analogy I always say, if you got some, fancy car, you're going to put in high test. You're not going to put in the cheap shit. It's the same concept. Guys, this time of year, drink water. Water. Gatorade is okay, but there's too much sugar in it. Drink water. I found these drinks that are electrolyte replacements, which are good, so you don't cramp up. But you got to take care of yourself, man. I mean, don't force yourself out of the trade. You know what I mean? Because you didn't take care of yourself. Sorry, Kel.
No, you're fine. I just wanted to add to that before I forgot what you were talking about. Just, stop eating all this crap food. And I get it. You're on the run. You're trying to get to your next call. You're trying to get home at a decent time. But there's still better things that you can order off the menu. Most of the fast food restaurants, or you can hit one of the fast food restaurants that's where you can get a chicken salad instead of a burger every day.
You'll feel better.
I want you to think about this too when it comes to that particular subject. Is what is the percentage? And this is just an estimate. What's the percentage of crap food you eat versus good food? So like if I had to say, 80% of the time I'm eating crap and then 20% of the time I'm making a better choice. What is that for you? And think about that, because the more you can get like, okay, well, let me get myself to 50-50. That's a good starting point. Or you know what I'm saying? Like start working your way down into just making better choices. And then hopefully eventually you can get to where it's, 80% of the time or 70%. I would go as far to say that once you get the roles reversed to where it's like you're above 50% on the good side versus the bad side of what you're putting in your body, that's going to have some extremely beneficial and healthy long-term effects for your career and for your family and for your stress levels, your ability to handle stress, like all of those things.
Yeah. One thing that was big for me, and I know it's a pain sometimes, is pack a lunch, man. Most people take a cooler with waters or drinks or whatever in the summertime. Pack your lunch. For one, you can control what you're eating and you're saving money. Let's be honest. No matter what stage you're in, if you're making a killing, you got the money to blow, whatever stage you're in, you can save money. Put that money towards something fun on the weekends when you're off, not fucking the McDonald's number 4 or whatever it is. When I started packing my lunch and, I maybe make a sandwich or like, I would get little salads and stuff like that. Or I would take like leftovers because a lot of times in the summertime we're grilling. So sometimes on a Sunday, I'd make a bunch of grilled chicken or something like that and then just have it for the week for lunch. And it was good. The shit would be delicious. So it's so much better. The other thing is, taking like vitamins and stuff like that. Even if you're younger, especially if you're older guys, like I take a daily vitamin, and one vitamin that I'm going to push out that we're not sponsored by, is On It. It's Joe Rogan's brand. Well, he's part owner in it, but it's called Alpha Brain. Dude, this stuff is awesome. It's just for clarity in your mind. When I started taking this, my mind feels so much better. They have one that's called Shroom Tech Immune that just helps your immune system. And just some of those things, they kind of keep you in like tip-top shape. And, we got to think about that, especially now with all this bullshit going on. We're in other people's houses and stuff like that. Last thing we need to do is get sick. So I guess the point of this, guys, is just taking care of yourself. It's huge. Take care of yourself. So these times a year when you're running and gunning, you're not down for a little bit. You don't hurt yourself or something like that. Like I tell people with their air conditioning system when they're like, oh, it always breaks when it's real cold or when it's real hot. I'm like, that's because it's running at full speed and that's when all the flaws get exposed. You know, if you have a bum knee and you walk around the block, you might be fine. But if you try to sprint around the block with that bum knee, guess what? That fucking knee's going to hurt. It's the same concept. When your air conditioners in the shoulder season maybe not running that often, you can get through. But in the summertime, when that bitch is running 100%, all of a sudden now you notice the flaws. It's the same concept with us.
Yeah. So I'm going to backpedal just a moment. We talked about, just making yourself a necessary asset. And then, of course, we just talked about, taking care of yourself. But when it comes to the necessary asset, there's kind of a fine line. I think a lot of people, a lot of guys maybe start perceiving themselves as a necessary asset, and maybe even getting too big for your britches, where maybe you're not doing the job that you used to do. Maybe you're not showing up quite on time anymore. Like you feel like you're indisposable. And I'm here to tell you, every single person on your team, whoever you work with, is replaceable, 100% replaceable. And sometimes these people get away with this. And even your coworkers, maybe it's not you, maybe you're seeing a coworker get away with this. And I'm here to tell you they absolutely are replaceable, but sometimes the management or you as an owner can, hesitate to pull that trigger, or maybe not even, deliver discipline. And I've been guilty of this over and over and over again. So believe me, I'm not standing on a soapbox here and telling you guys how it is. I understand how difficult this is, but I think it's an extremely important subject that we should at least touch on.
Yeah, for sure. Because I think as managers and business owners, especially this time of year when we're busy, and me and Kelley have both said this numerous times, you get held hostage by your employees. Because the fact that this time of year we are all hands on deck, you need warm bodies. You need people out there running these calls and, doing different things. And even if you have a guy that has a few callbacks, but majority of the time he's okay,
right?
It's still beneficial to have that guy out there. If you look at the numbers and the percentages, you're playing the percentage game. But the fact when you have a guy that knows that, they can't let me go right now. That kind of pisses you off. Or when they keep having the same callbacks and, that you're not getting 100% out of them, or there's always a fucking excuse. It just gets really, really annoying. For one, when you have your whole team out there busting your balls and you have two guys that are just kind of being selfish. And especially when a lot of times it's those guys that are not seeing the big picture. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. It's because you might make it through the summer, but as soon as something happens and hey, maybe you do got a layoff or something like that happens, guess what? Your name's going to be at the top of the list when that happens. Because it's very, very frustrating. And we know that all business owners go through it, that finding good help is hard. So sometimes you got to hold on to people that if you had better options, you wouldn't keep them, but you got to make the best with what you got, Yeah.
And I think I may have talked about this analogy before, but it's like, if I want to go to the World Series and I've got a second baseman who, drops the ball, misses at least one or two ground balls every game, maybe didn't have his head in the game and didn't make the obvious play that should have been made. Instead, he went, threw it to first instead of throwing it to third, things like that. I mean, you're still in the game. You don't have to forfeit because you have a body there, but it's all about, like that guy's not going to help you get to the World Series. So that's all. As an owner or a manager, there's opportunity there. It's like, okay, once the problem is recognized, then you can actually take some action to do something about it. So you can actually, okay, we need to we need to work on our fielding. So if we need to work on our fielding, then that could be sales. Maybe the sales aren't happening. Maybe he's doing discounts all the time. I don't know what it is for you. I'm just saying, first you got to recognize it and acknowledge it. And once you recognize it and acknowledge it, then you can actually take some action to improve it. So with some training. And then after that, if it doesn't improve, well, then it's probably time to move on and relocate them to a different team, because in your heart of hearts that you're not going to win the Super Bowl, or not the Super Bowl, but the World Series in this analogy. But it's the same with the Super Bowl. If you've got a tight end who never runs the play and drops the ball anytime it's passed to him and doesn't do his job on the line when necessary to protect the quarterback, like, you're not going to win the Super Bowl with that guy.
Look at Kelley with the sports analogies. My man.
So you have to always, your job as an owner is to continually upgrade the talent of the team, whether that's through training, whether through relocating them to another team and, recruiting new team members.
I'm glad you said that. I don't want to interrupt you. How you said relocating them. How many times in professional sports do you see an athlete, they're a stud, but they don't fit into that locker room? And you'll see them trade it and you're like, oh my God, they traded so-and-so. That guy's so good. Yeah, but you don't know that he's a nightmare in the locker room.
Yep.
Well, that's the same concept. You can have a guy that he's an awesome technician or installer or salesman or whatever, but he's bad for the team. He's that guy that's in the meetings like, why the fuck do we got to do this? Why does Kelley always do this, man? Why the fuck does Kelley always do that? Always starting shit, stirring a brew, calling guys on the phone. Those are not the kind of guys you want. You want people that are bought into your system. And I know that me and Kelley have talked about some of these individual things in different podcasts, but we're bringing this all together because the fact that everybody gets frustrated in the summertime, it brings out all the flaws in people, which it happens. We understand. We're not saying guys aren't going to make mistakes. We all make mistakes. But we know that we're all going through the same thing right now. A lot of us, we're understaffed. We're trying to get more people to capture as many calls as possible, but you can't find good help. Most guys that are worth a damn already have a job right now. You don't want to make your customers wait. So guys are getting overworked. They're running more calls than you would normally like them to do, which sometimes leads to mistakes. So that we have to put on ourselves. That's a risk that we're willing to take to a certain point. I'm not saying give your guys 10, 15 calls. We talked about it last night. I've done it before and I'm not proud of it because I know that most of those customers didn't get the good gill. They didn't get the service they paid for or required. So you don't go too crazy or you're just doing yourself a disservice and you're going to piss off a lot of people. But
yeah,
I don't know. I was ranting there. Go back.
Yeah, that's okay. It's all you can do is all you can do. And as long as you're doing all you can do, it's enough. I know what we're running into right now is we're having to schedule people, 3, 4, 5 days out because we're booked solid. And we leave some room, every day to, because if you have emergency calls that come in during the day, even if the schedule is full, we still have to run them if they're existing customers, if we just put in a system for them 6 months ago, like that's what winds up packing the schedule. It's not that we're purposefully, giving everybody 8 calls a day or something. It's just what can happen is on specific days. So I guess my point to that is what I was going to say, what we're running into, and everybody's experienced this, is your schedule's full. And then you go to that, 2 to 4 appointment, you get ready to call them. We got somebody else, and they didn't call to reschedule. That happens to every company every summer. So I'm thinking about, and I think we need to start calling ahead and making sure, like the day before, checking in and saying, I'm just making sure you're still on our schedule, because that way we can, refill that time slot for somebody who actually does need us. So we wind up losing more calls because the schedule's booked already, and we're telling them it's going to be Friday instead of Wednesday. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then when we get to Friday, we find that, we had 2 cancellations because they got somebody else sooner. So there's always that issue that we're dealing with too.
We started doing a few different things, and we haven't even talked about it. For one, we have the one girl in the office that she calls the following day's appointments. Like today, probably, starting at 3:00, she called all the appointments for tomorrow to confirm. Just want to say, hey, Mrs. Jones, we have you booked for 8 to 12 tomorrow. Hey, we have you booked for 12 to 4. Then obviously the technician's going to call before he goes out. And we also have people that we're giving people discounts, a $30 off coupon if they pay their diagnostic when they book the appointment.
Yeah, we talked about that in one of our podcasts.
Yeah,
we haven't done that. I definitely considered it. Love the idea of calling the day before. That's something that we're going to have to implement like right away, because we probably had, I want to say last week, we probably had 12 people that did not call us and let us know that they had found somebody else and they were still on our schedule. I mean, because our schedule's been packed full. So seems like a lot, but it's not in the grand scheme of things. I can't remember how many calls we ran last week, but it was a lot. So anyhow, one thing that we did start doing was, if we do wind up having to schedule something, like it's an opportunity call, it's a really old system, and we definitely want to get to that today. But we're already booked out past normal business hours, then we are offering same day service and just adding, what are we adding? It's like $20. We're adding at least $20 to our diagnostic fee. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just get a little extra, just to make sure that, it's going to be worth our time to go out there, because it's going to be 7:00 before the technician even thinks about going out there.
Yeah. Well, have you guys had the issue because of the whole COVID stuff? Like normally we will be done all of our PMs by now, but we found that some PMs are getting mixed in with these no AC calls because we've been backed up because we couldn't start them.
Totally.
Hot and heavy when we normally do. We're also doing, which I'm pretty sure that you do, especially with my senior guys, if they go out and they sell coil cleanings, they will get the unit up and running. And then we'll have one of our, maintenance techs go back and do the cleanings so that my good guys can keep rolling. Unless they have to clean a coil to get the system running, then that's a different story. But if it's something that they can get it cooling, and we can push the cleanings off, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to reschedule just to kind of keep guys rolling, because we inform our customers when they call in, hey, make sure that, in your time frame that you answer the phone, the technician is going to, Kelley knows we use Service Titan. So when you hit dispatch, it automatically sends them a text and an email saying, a picture of the technician, they're on the way. And then they call them, through Service Titan. And they have to answer the phone. If the customer doesn't answer, they'll call the office. They'll call them from the office number. And if they don't answer, then sometimes we keep, if it's close, if they're in a certain mile range, we'll say go ahead and go. But if it's a half an hour, 45 minutes away, we're moving on to the next call. And we make sure that customers know this when they're booking the call. Some people will say, hey, I'm going to be here no matter what. my phone, I got bad service out here, or sometimes I don't hear the phone. I'll be here 8 to 12. So if I don't answer, just come. And the girls will note that in there. But we just try to be
Sure.
productive and efficient with what's going on, just because we don't have time to waste.
No,
Um,
not at all. And that's potential time that somebody else who needs your service, who will be home, that you might lose out on to a competitor. But take like two steps back. You had just said something. I wanted to talk about just some information that I had read in this book that I'm reading, and I thought, because I have not went through almost all of the CRM dispatch softwares have like once the call is booked, it notifies the customer to let them know that you are on our schedule now. So if you're using a software that uses that, you can always go in and edit that message. And like Service Titan, for instance, they recommend that you put a short bio of the technician. That way they, because it shows the picture of the technician, who's going to be coming to your house whenever it gets dispatched, not when the call's booked, but when it's dispatched, and assigned to an actual technician. Then it notifies the customer to let them know who's going to be coming to their home. Okay, so here's my deal. I'm going to try it, and I wanted to share it with you guys because it might be something. There may be some real. I know there's psychology behind it. Okay, so there was a class of 70 MIT economic students, and they had a substitute teacher, and they were all given a short bio. 50% of them were given this bio, and then they had a different bio that was given to the other 50% of the class. The only difference in the bio was one little sentence. It talked about his accolades, where he went to school, all these things. But then at the end of one of them, it said he's a warm, loving person who really enjoys teaching. And then on the other one, it said he can sometimes come off as cold-hearted. Okay. Then, and I'm not saying we would ever do that to our technicians, say this, but just listen. So after the lecture, which the same lecture was given, it was one class. After the lecture, they asked the students afterwards, how many of you liked him, liked this professor, the substitute? And what do you know? Exactly 50% said, oh, he seemed to really care about the subject. He was passionate when he was teaching us. He was, I love the way he, worked the room, and he was a great teacher. Then the other 50% who saw he can be known as cold-hearted, they're like, he doesn't care about the students. We felt like he was just brash. He didn't, he didn't speak up enough. Like, they had nothing but bad things to say about him. And so what this is it's just pre-framing. And Tony Robbins talks about it, where they did this study where they had somebody with their hands full, and they just walk up to somebody and they said, hey, Gil, could you hold this for me for just 1 second? And I give you a cup. And then I like get my phone out or whatever. And then I say, oh, thank you so much. And I grab my cup back and I leave. And they did this study, and 50% of the people got a warm liquid like coffee. And 50% of them got a cold liquid, like, something that had ice in it or something, just a cold soda or something. Then they asked the person who was handed this drink, what did you think about that person? And the ones that got the warm drink said, oh, they were really nice. And yeah, I just held this for them for a brief moment. And the person that got the cold drink thought that they were kind of rude and snippy, and thought it was crazy that they asked a stranger to hold their cup for them. So it's just psychology. And I think if we can write a little short bio and say something really nice, like he really takes pride in his jobs and really loves his customers, that's going to pre-frame your customers to be more accepting of the technician when he gets out on the job.
I
So
agree.
pre-framing. If your dispatch software does that, be sure. I'm just going to be implementing it this week because I'm still new to Service Titan. I'm just now getting into this kind of stuff. But I highly recommend it because there's definitely psychology to it. So I just want to make sure to say that because two different tests, kind of, the one was just a cold drink or a warm drink, but it's still psychology, and it's still, I still think it's relevant to the 70 MIT students.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
It's almost like a first impression.
Yeah.
That something gets in your head and you've made your mind up on something before you even ever had a chance to make an intelligent decision. You've blocked that part like, oh, asshole. Another reason that's why you don't ever talk bad about your other team members. If you go back on a callback on somebody, even if you hate that person, or hopefully you don't hate that person, you got a whole nother problem. But if they were at fault, just apologize, Oh, I'm not sure what happened, man, but I'm going to take care of it. I'll fix it. Just keep positivity and talking about how you're going to fix the problem. Not, oh man, he does this shit sometimes. I don't know why he does that.
Yeah.
We've told him a million times not to do that. Like, that doesn't help anything. It makes your company look like shit. And it really doesn't make you look better. It just makes everybody involved look unprofessional, unreliable, and stupid.
So even when you're having bad days, watch what you say.
Yes. Always keep it positive. You talk good about them. And another one I found out too is don't be like, oh, well, they're just starting out. They're still learning. No, that the customer doesn't need to know that, they don't need to know that they're getting a not so good technician or not as good as somebody else. We don't want them to have to want a certain person. And we know we talked about it before, and we get it that some customers, because of time, get comfortable with a certain person, but we want it to be like McDonald's. Like we say, they get the same service from everybody. That's why I'm so big on processes. But yeah, you go out there and you find something, just concentrate on what you did to fix it, not what the problem was wrong. We've had that. I had to talk to a few guys about that I don't think they necessarily did it intentionally, but it still was an issue that I had to take care of. So something you definitely got to think about.
And this is the stuff that can come up much more frequently during the summer when we're chaotic. That's why Gil brought that up. It's because when we're slower, you don't have that nearly as often because people do slow down and they do a more thorough job typically.
Yes.
But when we're running and gunning, sometimes we get lazy and we get sloppy.
Yeah. And guys, this is the time of year where we need to be thorough but efficient. Okay. I say that because when you touch it, you own it. Don't go out, change that capacitor, fill out your ticket, your invoice, your tablet, whatever, and then roll. Okay. I say this because you were the last one to touch it. Even if you never went inside, you didn't see that drain. It leaks everywhere. They're going to call back. Your guy was just out here and now my air conditioning's leaking. You probably didn't put in your ticket that you never went inside. So there's no way for the office to defend themselves. Now you're going back out there. One, you got a pissed off customer. Two, you're probably doing it for free. So now you're not on a call that you can make money. Guys, this is why in the slow times when you're building those processes, this is when you want to get those things down. So when this time happens, it's like second nature. Physically look at everything. I went back on a call back today on a guy that he let the customer dictate to him what was going on in that call. Long story short, it was a furnace and an air conditioning with a condensate pump, and they had the vinyl tubing going through into the laundry room and draining into a bucket. And the tenants in there, I guess the bucket started to overflow, and the tenants are like, oh, well, it's always been in that bucket. That's what we thought. So the guy went out and he put it into like the washer drain where it's supposed to, where it was originally supposed to be, and because they're like, oh yeah, well, everything else has been fine. And he didn't even look at the rest of the system, did that and left. I had to go back there today, System's still not cooling. Your technician was just out here. And it also happens to be a rental for a guy that we get a lot of work from. He's the CEO of a big bank.
We just talked about this last night on the live stream, and I couldn't agree with you more. And so tell me what you found.
Filters plugged. And it's one where it only has one return. So it had no air. It was pushing water out the front between like the bottom of the coil and the furnace. Put a new filter in, checked the indoor coil. That was fine. Blower wheel was actually pretty good. It was on the high speed. Airflow seemed okay. Took a temperature split. It was 5-degree temperature split.
Mm-hmm.
Go outside. This thing's probably 4 pounds low on R22. I ended up selling a new system only because of a relationship with the customer. Like I said, this guy's a CEO of a bank. We get a shitload of work from them. And he was like, Gil, he's like, should I put any money into this? And I just shoot him straight. And I was like, Mr. John, probably not. I told him I can do A, B, C, D. I can't guarantee what's going to happen. And he was like, yeah, I'm not doing all that shit. Let's replace it.
Yeah.
So it ended positively. But what I don't like is when I first called him, he's like, well, what happened? Your guy was just out there. I don't like fucking hearing that.
I don't either. And we've had our fair share.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than that, especially a guy that gives us probably $1 million or more worth of work every year.
And that's a great example of I was given some examples, the other night. And that's the thing is like my example was we went out like on the 4th of May and we did a PM. And then the guy calls back like on the 16th and we go out and we find that some insulation came loose in the blower compartment and sucked up against the blower. So what do? We fix that. We strap it down, but we got these 1-bys that we have made for us and we use those 1-bys. So we get it strapped down and we basically walk away. And so my thing, when I went back through all of my invoices from last year, not all of them, but I don't even know why I said that. What I did is I went back into the files of my mind. I'm thinking, what were the major callback issues that we had where we had to go back multiple times last year? What was the root cause of all of those? And without question, the root cause was not putting our gauges on the system and not checking superheat subcooling, because that paints such a complete vision and picture of what's going on with that system. And if you don't do it, you don't know jack shit about what's happening with the system. You don't know. I don't care. So I had a talk with my guys. I'm like, look, if you're out at 9 o'clock in the morning, you need a part and it's got to be, the parts guy's going to pick it up for you. And we don't make it back out there till 6 o'clock at night to go ahead and make that repair, which happens this time of year. If you check the charge, if it was running, you were able to check the charge before, well, check it again when you go back. Just to be certain, because if you go put that part on and it just happens that when you pulled your gauges off in the morning, that the valve stem didn't seal and you're like, oh, I checked that this morning, it's all good. And you don't check it and it winds up being low. You know what the customer's going to say in the morning when they call, or later that night when they call? He was just here. And now you're doing shit for free. Because what are you going to do? You're going to charge him? Gil didn't charge him, I guarantee, when he went out there.
No,
I don't care what you would have found. You couldn't have charged him practically, and I get it. There could have been some off the wall thing that maybe failed and you would have to charge him. But more times than not, we're giving that call away for free.
Which right now is the last thing that you want to be. You never want to do that anytime. Now, even more so because you have a plethora of calls coming in.
Yep.
It's just, guys, I won't get into the technicals of this, but like Kelley said, superheat and subcool. Now I got my guys, they have to, in service tight when they take pictures, They have an arrival checklist they have to do, which asks for superheat and subcooling. And then I'm asking guys that I want a screenshot of Measure Quick. I got my guys using Measure Quick. It's a free application. If you guys don't know what it is, check it out. It's Jim Bergman's thing. It's free. If you don't have any of the tools that wirelessly communicate with it, which the Testo stuff does, the Field Piece stuff does, you can enter the stuff in manually. It gives you all kind of tools. It's things that you should be checking anyway, and it kind of just makes it like a checklist, and it shows me that guys are doing what they're supposed to do. If I don't see that, I ask for it. Why didn't you do it? I try to. It's harder now that I'm in the field because I can't check them as fast as I normally would. But before, I would see it and be like, hey, why don't you have this? And I would kind of see it before a problem occurred or before the customer ever knew there was a problem.
The forms are just attached to the invoice, aren't they? Like the forms, like you said, the arrival checklist.
Yeah, it's in the forms category that you can put whatever you want in there.
Yeah,
so
I know, but I did that like last week, but I've not gotten in to see any of the forms yet. I'm assuming that they're just attached to the invoice is my question.
If you want them to, you don't like it'll all be in there when you go back to see them. Yeah. But like at the end, you can choose what you want to send to the customer. Is that what you mean? Or you mean just like there for us to see?
Like for the office to go and make sure that they're filling out these forms. I'm not sure where to go for that. So I'll ask you later. I don't want to take a bunch of time on that, but I was just curious if you knew the quick answer. So
yeah, no, I don't.
Okay, gotcha.
But guys, so in a nutshell, we know everybody's busy right now. Everybody's stressed. It's all of us. This is the time of the year that you start to question, like, man, fuck, is this really what I want to do? Like, man, like I hate these fucking hours. It's hot outside. We all go through this stuff every year, man. It sucks. This is why we make what we make. And this is the time we make most of it. So it's time to put up or shut up. Trust me, come spring, not spring, fall, when things start to die down a little bit, you got time to relax then. We all chose this trade to get into. So just rock and roll. Be safe, like we always say.
I promise you, if you're entering every day with that attitude, you're going to have a shitty day. So you better off just try to have fun, man. Have fun with your coworkers, joke around when you get a chance, and just have fun. That's what it's about. Is the time's going to pass anyways. You might as well make the best of it.
Well, one thing we missed, Kelley, and we probably should talk about real fast that Kelley Kelley's really helped me towards this is getting the proper sleep at night. Guys, get your rest, go to sleep. I used to go, be up doing stuff for the podcast and different things until 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. And then I'm up at 5:36 for the next day. And that shit it wears out. And maybe when you're not so busy, you can make it work, steal a nap every now and again. But this time of year, you cannot do that. Guys, make sure you're going to bed. You're getting your sleep. You're resting your body for the next day. We're already putting ourselves in the elements and hot attics, out in the heat, etc. Get your sleep, man. I'm a changed man with it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the healthiest things you can do. There's also this ring. If you're like and I haven't bought one yet. I want to get one, and they're not really that expensive, but it's called an Aura. And it'll actually track your sleep patterns. It's got an app that downloads, and it shows you like how much, the different stages of sleep. And I haven't studied this, so I don't know what the best stages are, but it just tracks that for you, so you can actually know how well you did sleep and how much rest you actually got, because you can sleep all night and really not get much rest if you don't sleep the right way. Like if your body doesn't go into that natural sleep cycle that you're supposed to be in. Yeah. But anyhow, what Gil said about, you can bitch and moan every day. Oh man, it's freaking hot. We got to go spend the day in the attic or whatever. I get it, guys. I totally get it. But I also want to say this is, you've ever heard of Stoics? or stoicism?
No.
So what stoicism is and what being a stoic means is it's the endurance of pain or hardship without the display of feelings and without complaint. So what I'm saying is be stoic. Stop being a little bitch. Like, stop being a little bitch. Toughen up, guys. If that's you, if you're like, sometimes, you know, when you really sit back and think about it, I'm being kind of whiny, and we're all guilty of this sometimes. Like, I know it. Like, I'm totally guilty. Gil's guilty.
Yes.
But we also are all smart enough to know that that's not serving us. And
No.
it's not going to do any good, and it's not going to do your teammates any good. It's not going to do management any good. It's not going to do dispatch any good to be
You're not gonna get
to
done any
be a
faster.
little bitch. So stop being a little bitch, you know.
Yeah, you're not gonna get done any faster.
No.
You bitching. You don't bitch to the fucking customer about how long your day is or how hard your last call is, because guess what? They don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck. You don't walk in with that, how you doing today? Oh, I'm good. It's just, it's that time of the year, that last call was up in the attic. Man, boy, was it rough. They don't care. You walk up, hey, Mrs. Jones, how you doing today? Oh, AC's not working. Oh, what you got going on? You're positive, you're upbeat. You got to be that way on every call, because you know what? It's not their fault that your last call was shitty.
Don't make the
Okay?
first words out of your mouth something negative.
Exactly. You got to be upbeat, man. I talk to my guys all the time. Being in a shitty mood makes a bad situation worse. Your day only gets harder, and you start making it worse in your mind. I just do what the fuck I got to do. Rock and roll. Talk to new people. Keep it positive. Get to know new people. I try to keep a positive outlook. It makes it easier. It makes you like what you do. If you're miserable out there, I mean, to be honest, your numbers are going to show it. Your customer rating's going to reflect it as far as how they're rating you. Like, they give you, up to 5 stars in Service Titan. I've seen some guys that are great technicians, but the fact that they have that kind of personality, they come off to the customer the wrong way. So
toughen up.
Yeah, guys, be
Toughen
safe
up.
out there. Yeah, we wanted to have this little conversation. We know summer, it's hectic for technicians, business owners, managers, and all. We're all going through frustrations right now, especially, like I said, after a lot of us had a shitty winter, dealing with all the COVID stuff, still dealing with all the COVID stuff. Some places with the different, protest and racial things going on. You guys know I live in Baltimore, so we've had our fair share of that. Stay positive. We got a job to do. Let's do it. All right. This is our time to start stacking dough. So come fall, we're all sitting back, grinning from ear to ear, knowing that we just had a fucking awesome summer, and we either, made it or break it. I mean, make it or break it kind of deal.
Yeah.
But,
so today, when you're out there, put a smile on your face. Just smile. Be glad that you're alive on this planet and you're able to go serve somebody and really help somebody today.
that you're working. There's a lot of people right now that wish they were working.
Absolutely. Be thankful. Be grateful. Smile.
Yeah.
You better be smiling right now as you're listening to this. Yeah. Woo. Ow.
All right, buddy. Let's go ahead and close this mother freaker out.
Guys, I know it's been a little while since Gil and I have had some time to just talk with ourselves. We've had guest after guest after guest. So this was nice and refreshing. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you are having a great summer. Just make the most, do what you can with it. And just appreciate everybody, man. I appreciate being on this podcast with Gil. Appreciate his friendship and company. I appreciate everyone listening. We always say it constantly, just how much we appreciate you guys. We wouldn't do this without you. It's definitely, we're not rolling in dough doing this. So it takes a lot of time away from our families to do it. And so all we ask is that you go leave us a review, leave us a review, subscribe to the podcast. We're on all your favorite podcast apps. You can find us damn near anywhere. Tell your friends, family, coworkers about us. And that's all we ask. And we'll keep doing it. So thank you guys so much, and go make money.
Yeah. Just to touch on what Kelley said. Yeah, we're pretty much everywhere. The only thing we're not on is SoundCloud. For some reason, it says there's like not enough space, and I'm trying to look up to figure out how to get space or buy space or whatever I got to do. But it's not really helping, and I don't really know if that many people that actually use SoundCloud. So I don't know if I'm going to worry about it. But yeah, same here, man. I appreciate you, Kelley. I appreciate everybody listening to us, man. We really do appreciate all of you. We appreciate all the same people that are always in the live stream supporting us. It means a lot to us, man. It really, really does. All of you people listening that have been, crying and yelling at me about merchandise. We have shirts, a couple of different kinds of hats between the ones I'm getting, the ones that Kelley already has. So if you want any kind of merchandise until our website gets done, right now, email us at hvacuncensored.com and we can hash it. Just say you want merch. We have pictures in the Facebook group, but if you're not in the Facebook group, get in the Facebook group, or just email us and I can send you pictures of the different things and we can work it out that way. I literally just send you an invoice. You pay the invoice and I will ship the merch out to you. But yeah, I'm going to leave it at that, man. Guys, hopefully you're starting off the summer good. Hopefully all of you out there, if you're business owners, managers, you're making money, you guys are starting off on the right foot. You're able to capture all these calls. If you're a technician, hopefully you're out there fucking, busting it out, man. You're helping all these different customers. You got a positive attitude. You're being a leader. You're stepping up in the time of need. You're showing your bosses that you're dependable. And you're out there doing what the fuck you got to do. Take care of yourself. Like we said, take care of your bodies. You're only going to get out what you put in. All right. Be drinking water, stay hydrated, be efficient, take your time, look at the whole job. We don't want callbacks. All right. Yep. Other than that, man, we love you guys. We appreciate you from the bottom of our hearts. And yeah, it was great. Like Kelley said, to have this episode of just me and him. It's definitely different preparation for a guest, which we love having guests. Don't get me wrong. They're great. But we also love these episodes where we can just kind of sit back and, just be ourselves and bullshit about different topics and different things that are going on. So this was definitely well-deserved and well-needed. But yeah, guys, like I always say, man, be safe out there. Always make it home the same way you left. I don't want to hear about any of our brothers and sisters, being harmed or passing away this summer like we had last year where somebody passed away in an attic. All right. So like I said, stay hydrated, be safe, always make it home the same way you left it. And guys, do what the next guy's not doing. Do what the next company is not doing. Set yourself apart. It's a lot easier than you think it is. Don't cut corners. Do those little things. Don't miss anything. Get a process that you're efficient, that you're being thorough every single fucking call. All right? And until next week, we'll talk with you motherfuckers later, man. Peace.
Peace. Hashtag no callback.
Thanks for listening to the HVAC Uncensored podcast. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Instagram, or email us anytime at hvacuncensored@gmail.com. Now, get back to work. Shut this down. The views and opinions shared on the HVAC Uncensored podcast may not necessarily be the views and opinions of our sponsors or guests.